or buy a used one. Like honestly,
I don't know.
buy that
Yeah.
2018 for 68,000, whatever. Like it's gonna be okay. Rich people. So, all right, the last thing I want to talk about is there's an article in the Wall Street Journal. So, this story is talking about the car market, and we all know what the car market is like right now. It is unreal. I bought a Kia back in 2019 because had a baby, was trying to be more responsible. So, got rid of the Infinity, bought a Kia. In 2021, I sold that for $4,000 more than I paid for it in 2019. And so that's where we are. And it's only gotten worse. So, according to this article, some 82% of new car buyers last month paid more than the sticker price. If you've ever tried to buy a car in the last, say, 10, 15 years, that is just unheard of until this situation. And it's driven by a lot of things. It's driven by stimulus payments during the pandemic. It's driven by the lack of computer chips. So you can't get new cars finished and out to the lots. And so it's driving up the cost of the new cars that are made, and it's driving up the cost of the used cars that are available. There's a lot of things going into this. But the focus of this article is on it's kind of talking about the trials and tribulations of the modern car buyer. There's two kind of sides to this. And so one, we're looking at somebody named Kat Adair, 55-year-old Texas resident who recently purchased a new car. Ms. Adair said she's always dreaded dealership negotiations, but this time the experience was particularly grueling. After she and her husband got quotes for $10,000 to $15,000 above MSRP, they were relieved to buy a Toyota 4Runner for what she described as a steal, $2,000 over its sticker price of about $49,000. I don't feel like it's fair that you have to be a good negotiator to get a fair price, she said. So there's one, right? Somebody who feels like it's unfair that you have to be a good negotiator to get a what she considered to be a fair price. I'm going to come back to her idea of what a fair price is in a second, because the other side of this equation is Mike Sanford, a Ford Lincoln dealer in Southeast Michigan, said he doesn't charge above the sticker and has tried to hold the line even on popular models in short supply. But he said it's a decision that can sometimes leave him feeling burned. For instance, a buyer walked into his dealership recently looking for a Ford Bronco. The buyer indicated that he was a Bronco fan, Mr. Stanford recalled, and told the sales manager he was excited to drive in a local park with his wife with the car's removable top off. The dealership sold the vehicle for the $54,000 sticker price. The next day, his staff saw the same Bronco listed for resale online for $20,000 more, using the dealership's own photos of the vehicle, he said. I don't think it's right to gouge the customer, he said, but I don't think it's right for customers to gouge us either. But that's the market today. This happened about a year and a half ago with computer graphics cards. They are already a relatively expensive item. Mine costs MSRP costs roughly $500, which is a lot of money to drop on a single computer part. But in 2020, as new versions of the cards were released, the supply shortage hit, the chip shortage, supply chain issues, a lot of things hit. Plus, there was immensely high demand for them because so many people were now stuck at home and had stimulus payments in their pockets. So there were more people with money and reason to purchase them. And so what happened is the stores started selling them at the manufacturer's suggested price of $500, $700, in some cases over $900. People bought them and then immediately sold them for 100% profit. I got mine as a steal for $700 because I realized at the time that it doesn't matter what the manufacturer says the cost is. The cost is what people will pay for it. The market's going to determine the cost. And cars are exactly the same way. And I think a lot of people are really spoiled because for 30 years, car manufacturers were desperate to sell vehicles. And so they were offering massive incentives, huge discounts, option packages for almost no money. They were doing anything they could to get you in the door to buy a car. And people were happy to take advantage of that. But now that things are going the opposite direction and is no longer a buyer's market, it's a seller's market, people view the MSRP as a price limit. They would be happy to pay lower and they will negotiate the shit out of a deal to pay lower than the MSRP. But as soon as they're asked to pay above MSRP, they feel like they're getting gouged. A lot of people look at it like they deserve a discount. Never pay MSRP for a car. You always negotiate a lower price. But that's not true anymore. because there is somebody willing to pay $20,000 more than the sticker price for that car. In one case, somebody, after trying to buy a what is it, a Ford Maverick, which is a $20,000 truck, but he wasn't able to find it at MSRP, and he had to pay about $26,000 for it. And he wrote a letter to the Ford CEO to complain. I found it hard to take anybody seriously when they will only accept the market when it benefits them.
But that's people today. That's always been people. That's nothing new. Like people always want the best things possible for them, but they don't want to spend the money for it. This is the way the market's at. If you can't afford it or you don't want to pay it, it's pretty simple. Don't buy the car. I've been fortunate, with the exception of one time, where the cars that I've bought have always been. I've never only one time I've ever needed to buy a car. Every other time I bought a car, I've been fortunate enough to say it's a want, not a need. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the problem is people are going in there expecting like, oh, I'm a long time customer. I should be getting a really good deal. You should be trying to sell me the car right now. Well, there's five other people outside that want to buy the same car. And I know some people will say, like, the dealers will tell them, well, we're doing this because we can. Well, yeah, it's a business. These people are trying to put food on their table too.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to understand that. Like, a lot of these people I've seen in these articles and I've read through, they're taking it personal as if the dealership is personally attacking them. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that is not the case. This is a business. I had a prime example. This was back when I was 23, in that time frame, anyways. And I had to go out and buy a new car. Well, I went and I looked at a Mitsubishi Lancer. Of course, the sales guy he was a lot of fun for me, a lot of fun. He came out. We test drove the car. He really liked it. He turned around and he put a blank piece of paper down in front of me, put an X on it, and said, "How much do you want to pay?" I was like, "I'll pay $200 a month." Put an X on a piece of paper, slid the paper in front of me. He's like, "Okay, sign here." And I was like, "What? What do you want me to sign?" He's like, "Just sign this paper. I'll go up and get the numbers taken care of." I was like, "I'm not signing shit until I see an actual contract." We went back and forth. He decided to tell me like, "Oh, there's a woman out there. I'm gonna go sell this car to." I'm like, "Well, then why are you sitting here talking to me if she's gonna
Yeah.
buy it?" Uh,
Yeah.
but that's kind of how you have to go into it. Like, this is a job. You can't take it personal. They're always trying to get the best deal. It's the same thing buying a house. I'm sure you have what you look online is the value of the house, and then you potentially get in a bidding war, and that next person might pay 30,000, let's say, over asking price,
Mm-hmm.
40,000 over asking price. Is the person selling the house a jerk because he sold it for 40,000 over,
Yeah.
or is it just that's what the market requires?
Mm-hmm.
Because
I
if
mean,
that's the case, that's been going on for how long with houses?
since there's no MSRP on a house, there's nobody to blame
Yeah.
when it goes for over that price. But you're exactly right. It's the same exact
Hmm.
process because, when you went to buy that Lancer, there wasn't a woman who was going to buy it if you didn't buy it. That
No.
that wasn't a thing. But right now there is. There's somebody standing outside. They might not be outside. They might be sitting in the lobby sipping coffee, and they came in to buy the car that you are looking at. And if you walk away right now, they're going to buy it behind you. And it's not a scare tactic like it was several years ago. It is true.
Yeah.
And so you have to be willing to pay what they're asking you to pay. Because honestly, if I was a sales rep, I'd just be like, hey, you come over here, you come over here. Who's willing to pay the most for this car? Because
Yeah.
the demand is that high. The other side of this is these dealerships are having trouble getting inventory. The national inventory of available new vehicles has fallen by like 70% in the last 18 months, which means that dealerships don't have cars. And so there was a time years ago when there was lots of volume. I mean, there were a lot of cars on the lot, and when they were offering these massive incentives, these huge discounts, the dealers could make up for that lost revenue per car by selling a lot of cars. But they can't do that right now because they don't have the cars to
Hmm.
sell. And when you don't have the cars to sell, you have to make more on the cars you have available. And so you've got limited inventory, you've got people willing to pay 10, 12, $15,000 over asking price, and you don't have the inventory there to make up for it if you sell it at asking price. And these guys, these are most of these dealers, the dealer owners may be wealthy, but the sales guy, right? The guy making the commission, the guy trying to sell you the car,
Oh
it's
yeah.
not a wealthy person, right? He needs that money. This is just market forces happening. And the minute A, people decide that they don't want to buy a new car, or B, the chip shortage ends and new cars flood the market, the prices are going to come back down. But until that happens, they're just going to stay high. And it cracks me up, people complaining about rising prices and then going to pay the rising price. If you have a problem with the rising price,
Yeah.
don't pay it. Don't buy the thing. Buy something else.
Well, I mean, it's it's the age old saying of supply and demand. Right now, there's no fucking supply, but
And
there's still the
massive demand.
demand.
The demand is
Yeah.
higher than it used to be, and there's no supply. So yeah,
Yeah, like I said, don't get me wrong. Like I have been better. I used to try to flip my cars out as often as possible, because I did not feel like committing to just about anything, and so I'd always flip my cars out. But I've been good. I've had the same car for like 2 years now. It's very odd. It's a
I'm
very
proud of you.
strange feeling. Yeah, I know. Uh, I always want to flip out and get a new car. So I'm terrible with demand. But right now, you're right. But I'm not getting mad. I'm very, very understanding of the fact that while I want a new car, I don't need a new car. And I'm not the only one that's looking for that car. So whether you go to a dealership, whether you go to something online like Vroom or Carvana, everybody is going to be charging more. And if you can wait, that's what I would do, because eventually this chip shortage is going to figure its way out, and you're going to see that same car you wanted. You just got to be
It'll be
willing
back where
to
you want
ride
to
the
pay it. You
wave.
just gotta wait. Exactly.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I do not feel sorry for somebody bitching about how they had to pay $51,000 for a Forerunner instead of 49,000. Because if you can afford a $50,000 car, the car you have is probably fine, and you could wait a year to buy a new one. I can't think of a situation I've ever seen where somebody desperately needed a car and then bought a Mercedes.
There was a woman in here that lives in near Dallas. She's a longtime Cadillac owner, and she said she was stunned in January when the salesperson at her local dealership tried to charge her about 10,000 over the sticker price for a brand new Escalade. It's like,
I
if you're
mean,
gonna buy a brand new Escalade, are you really gonna cry about ten thousand
yeah.
dollars more? Money
And
is not your problem.
if anybody hasn't looked at Escalade prices, my wife and I traded in our two cars in 2021 and bought a Navigator. Got three kids, and my son is 6'4", and he is only going to get taller. And so we needed more space in our vehicles. We traded in two cars to buy the Navigator. And while looking around the Navigator, I was looking at new cars. I was looking at, we were looking at Tahoes and Escalades. I can't afford an Escalade.
Yeah, why
Holy
not?
shit. The asking price for an
I'm
Escalade on
curious.
the dealership, when we went to look, the cheapest one was $97,000. The MSRP from Cadillac is $77,000. But I'm gonna go to the dealership that we went to. All right, I'm looking at 2022 Escalade. I'm gonna put this on price low to high. 94,
Okay,
955.
so I did find one cheaper than you. A brand new 2022 Cadillac Escalade, no miles on it, $77,840. So you're gonna tell me, if you're gonna go out and buy a roughly a $78,000 car, you can't afford that extra $10,000? I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Or buy a used one. Like honestly,
I don't know.
buy that
Yeah.
2018 for 68,000. Whatever. Like it's gonna be okay. Rich people.